All right. Hello. Welcome to part 2, where we're going to be pretty much in here the whole time. Apologies for my nose. The last video, I blamed it on allergies, but yeah, I got sick. So I'm feeling a lot better. But so basically everything that we last recorded is in the DAW. So when I practice or stream or anything like that, if I'm not recording for playback, I bypass the computer 100%. So I go into basically this summing mixer. So we go in all the preamps. I have 16 channels here, 2 mix buses. Well, think of this kind of like a bus, and then this is the master out. There's 2 different kinds of silk, so like high-end harmonics or low-end harmonics. But basically I can do some really cool routing things. So I have the 2 overheads coming from the DAW, the left and the right, hard panned, and I have a kick and a snare, and have other channels too. But right now we're just using these 4, and these 4 I'm sending to the first dry drum bus. So this would be, just no processing. So from here I can control the volume and all that stuff, but I'm sending this bus to here, up to 1 and 2. So this is our dry signal. This is basically what we're working with today. And then I have a master out here, and we'll talk about all the other compression and stuff later. But a little preview: dry drum bus. This is going to be parallel compression of this mix bus. And then we're going to have some reverb and some kind of depth added in later on. So basically dry, overhead, kick, snare, going through the mix here. No coloration yet, nothing like that. Coming in, so we have dry. This is going to be parallel, and then reverb, and then out, and then that'll go through other compression. So yeah, it's a little weird. Kind of, I don't want it to be like this is how much dB and this is how much I do, but basically I start with just a raw sound. So that's what we're going to hear. And I have it set up so we can look here on Logic. I wanted you to see the output signal of everything. And then this channel right here, the return drum mix, is basically the levels right here and an EQ of just so you guys can see what's happening frequency wise and get a sense of what everything kind of does. So we'll start with just the overhead so you can hear how that sounds. And yeah, again, I'm going to leave this up here and you'll see the overheads are coming through here. No other processing right now. So it should be pretty similar. Like the output volumes over here should be the same. All right, so that was just the overheads. Now, you'll notice, yeah, like the right and left, the red and the yellow, like they're different, right? You're hearing a stereo image. So on the EQ, you'll see some different stuff. That's what I was talking about with phase. You start messing with a lot of that. Really starts to, in the stereo image, sound a little weird. So we have overheads, kick, and snare. And I'm doing probably -18 on here and almost -4 on the snare. But I'll unmute these. We'll see what they sound like. You'll notice that there's going to be a lot more boost going on around 200 from that snare sound. And about 50, 60, you're going to see just a big kind of lump showing up from that kick drum. But not too much, because over here I got it turned down pretty good. So it's more of a presence. Again, no EQ or compression. what you'll notice is the volume is a little quiet, right? Because there's no compression going on. So these peaks you'll see like around the snare and the kick and the toms are way up here, you know, like on this EQ. And like when I hit start here, you know, you don't even see them popping up in this high end, right? Because there's not a lot of energy there. But there's harmonics and everything that need to come out later, and that's what we're going to do with compression. Kind of bring down those really high transients like the snares and the kicks and the toms, and allow all those harmonics in the high end that aren't really, you got to turn them up really high right now. And when you do that, you're going to be, you know, just hearing just crazy loud snares and kick drums. So without just the dry signal on a unprocessed drum bus, like, it's balanced, but there's still things like as a drummer I want to hear, right? Like I want to hear like all those little harmonics and the snare harmonics that we're used to hearing right up close. Our ears and our ears are so cool, and our brain acts like a real-time phase correction and compressor all at once. Like it does all this instantly. And we got to tell all our gear, all the analog gear, all the DAWs, all that stuff, how to process it, like our brain does. So, I mean, that's what you're doing as a mix engineer, right? Some real-time stuff. So in the room, a drummer will hear things on a tom or a snare or a kick drum or a ride that sometimes if you're not compressing it correctly, you can lose it. Like you just don't even hear it because you can't turn it up more without really hurting the mix or hurting the equipment. Or, you know, it's just so quiet, it's just not even there. So those little nuances that I love in my tuning, those little overtones and just like, right, that energy, we're going to bring that up in the mix. So pretty much everything up here, all the high end, the low end is there. It's just so forceful, right? Like it's moving air. Whenever you hit the kick drum, whenever you hit the snare toms, like you're moving. Like there's a lot of energy there. Cymbals, not so much. So it's balanced, but we gotta bring up some of those harmonics without sacrificing the balance that's already there. So the next thing that I do, I should say, so this is a dry, you know, the first round going through into the drum bus. All of these are dry. There's no EQ or anything, but I'm going to turn on these API 550A EQs over here. And if you look, there's nothing going on. They are completely flat, no filtering going on, but I just love the sound of them on the overheads, the op amps or whatever they got in them. I think they're called op amps. When you engage them, it does something. I don't know what to tell you, but it definitely brings up like this tightness to it, you know? So I'm going to hit play. I'm going to turn them on so you can hear, and then we'll go from there. So again, might not be much, but I really do think it just adds a little something, right? Like slowly build on it. It's not like just one knob and one piece of gear is going to magically do everything you want, but all these little things, right? Just like take in the drum hoop or what kind of snares, how many snares you use, or the thickness of the shells. Like it all compounds to what you want, right? As a sound. So again, you don't have to do anything like this, but I think it adds a little bit of coloration to it that I just enjoy. And I do hear a little bit of more energy into it, and maybe tightening up of the two different rights and lefts overheads, and maybe just bringing them a little phase coherently together more. I don't know what it is, but I enjoy it. The next thing on these Rupert Neve designs on these satellites, they have a really cool thing called silk, and each channel, each output, so you got mix 1 or the final, you can change. So blue, I have right now, the blue silk is low end harmonics, right? So this is like, again, bringing up some really neat things in the snare, toms, and kick drum, right? And the red silk, we'll talk about that in a second. Nothing's engaged yet, but I'm going to turn up the blue silk on my just basic dry drum bus. So before I even send it to parallel processing or anything like that, I'm going to add some blue silk, and I'm just going to add, go big or go home. Basically, we're just going to add a bunch of it. So what I find is, with this ribbon microphone, instead of like EQing in some low end, it's already there. Like the information I want is there. I just want to bring it out a little more and make it seem warmer and thicker, without boosting anything, without amplifying frequencies that are just going to cause issues later. So adding these little harmonics just kind of treats that whole low end and just fuzzifies it, makes it warmer, makes it a little more gooier, a little more natural. So yeah, let's check it out. Yeah. So, I mean, you might be like, Dan, this all sounds the same, but I'll quick turn them off, both this and that EQ again, and let you hear it just right off the bat. Yeah. So again, nothing crazy, but I do think it really just adds a little bit, right? And you'll notice it, I think, more once we start compressing on the final output, like our master mix bus. And I think that's when you really notice like that energy from the EQs and like that blue silk, because we're kind of killing some of those just attack transients and we're getting more of the tone that we want. So again, to run down, essentially what we're doing is going out of the computer. Again, usually I have this set up so I don't have to, if I'm practicing, I'm just routing everything through here in the patch bay. But when playing back, just so you guys can hear, we have the outputs right and left, kick, snare being sent to this mix or to this drum bus. And we have the API 550A EQs turned on. They're all zeroed out though. So this is just for kind of the tone of the preamps. And we have the blue silk all the way up, and that everything compiled there, that sum of all that is being sent to here, channels 1 and 2. And then I have channels 1 and 2 being routed out to the master output. We'll get to there. But the next thing is going to be parallel compression. So what's interesting is I have this raw, drum mix always in the mix, and I can send this to different places, right? The way I have it routed in the patch bay. So I have the raw drums with just the blue silk and the API. And the next step is going to be parallel compression. And you can see like it's pretty quiet, but we're going to be running that through those 1176s and the LA 2As. So two different types of compression, and colored to taste. And we'll do that. That's going to be the next video. And then we're going to blend in that coloration underneath that dry sound, just to kind of, again, we're trying to create like a saturation and harmonic excitement underneath, right? So it just builds instead of, again, just boosting and EQing like crazy and warping all these signals. It's just kind of like, just bring out what's already there, and just bring that to the forefront a little more without damaging the dynamics. So I hope that makes sense. And yeah, on to the next one. We'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.